Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Red Alert Lab. This is the video number 83. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have talked about authentication policy silo. This is a way that you can secure your important or sensitive high privilege accounts to access sensitive high privilege hosts. What I mean by high privilege host, I mean sensitive servers or sensitive data on servers or sensitive server roles. For example, you can through using the authentication policy silo, you can limit a certain high privilege account like the domain admin to access a highly sensitive server like the domain controller, for example, or DHCP or DNS. So you limit the access of a certain high privilege account, an account that have the most or the highest privileges in the domain. The domain admin account has a lot of privileges. He can access a lot of servers, he can access a lot of workstations, he can change the Active Directory and change the configuration of the Active Directory. So through the authentication policy silo, you can, in brief, limit certain high privilege accounts to access certain high privilege host or certain high value hosts. Okay, we have discussed this in the previous video and it's very simple to use, and actually the authentication policy silo, you can not only limit certain accounts to access certain hosts, but you can play or add additional setting, or you can configure additional setting for the user. For example, you can configure the ticket grant ticket for the user accessing the domain to be a certain amount of time. We all know that TGT, this is a ticket granting ticket. This is a privilege, or it is something like something is given to the user when he accesses the domain. This is something like a permission to use the domain resources for a certain amount of time, or the network resources for a certain amount of time. So for example, if the domain admin TGT ticket is 60 minutes, then that means that you cannot use the domain resources, the domain resources or the network resources. What we mean by network resources or domain resources, we here mean shared folders, users, computers, something like this. Okay, so you cannot use all of these resources. You can use it only for 60 minutes, and after that you will be disconnected from the domain, and you need to renew your accessing the domain, and you renew your ticket grant ticket. So this is also another way to secure your domain admin account, by limiting the ticket grant ticket. So if the ticket grant ticket is 60 minutes, so you are limiting the domain admin account to access the domain resources for a certain amount of time. For example, maybe if you forget and left your account logged in on the domain controller, and a hacker try to abuse or try to use this situation, he will access your resources. But if you leave your account on a domain controller, for example, or a domain controller server for 60 minutes, it will be disconnected automatically from the domain, and you need to re-log in on the domain controller and to issue a new ticket grant ticket. We have discussed this before, and it was very simple and very easy to configure. Today we will configure, or we will talk about a very important topic, something called app locker. This is a way you can control what a user can run or install on his workstation or on the server. So we all know that a part of the ransom attacks depend upon the user ignorance, or he doesn't know that this account or this program or this link is malicious or not. So we can prevent a ransom attack by limiting the type of programs the user can run or can install. So by limiting, or through the app locker, we will limit the user to use a certain amount of programs that we are fully aware of, and it is fully patched, fully patched by security patches, or security updates. So by using the app locker, we are limiting the user to run certain programs, including the ransom programs or the ransom links. So if, for example, we limit the user, for example, to open for example, program A, when a user, or when a user receive an email to open, for example, program B, if it is not in the app locker whitelist, or it is not in the allowed programs whitelist, this program will not run and it will not infect the machine. So we need to use this kind of technology, or this kind of technique, to prevent infecting our machines with ransomwares or malicious activity, and also to limit the users, or to control the users, or control how the users will use the programs, or to control the user to run only center programs. For example, maybe a user has bring a program, a portable program on a flash, for example, and we know what is a portable program. It's a kind of program that can run without administrative privileges. So for example, if a user have a flash, or you have downloaded a program that is a portable program, it can run, and this program is not fully patched and it is not monitored, so this can infect the machine, or it can do certain damage to the machine. Or I don't want the user, for example, to use upload programs, or upload portable programs. Anyway, through the app locker, we will make a policy, or make an application whitelist. These are the programs that we allow the user to run, okay, and to use, and not to use any other programs. So we have the app locker as a technique to control the user, or to limit the user accessing to certain programs. We will use a certain documentation introduced by the NSA, which is the National Security Agency of the United States. There is a certain document published by the National Security Agency of the United States on how to secure your servers and workstations through limiting the users to access the programs, or to access certain programs, using the app locker feature. This app locker feature, it is within the group policy in the Active Directory. We will see how we can use this kind of feature to secure our network from ransoms, and to control the using of certain programs by certain users, or by our normal or standard users. So let's see how we can do something like this. Actually, I have downloaded, you need to go to the website of the Department of Defense and download this documentation. It's called, I will tell you all what is this documentation. This is the app locker guidance PDF. You should download it from the Department of Defense website, and there is a package also included with this PDF guide to help you to configure the app locker. I will show you all this. So here, this is an app locker guidance zip file. This is a file, okay, you should download from the DoD, Department of Defense, or the Department of Defense website, or STIG viewer viewer website. Anyway, I will put it in a link on a Google Drive, or I put a Google Drive link with this program in the description of the video. So you will find a link in the description of the video with a link to a Google Drive including this program, or including this package. This package includes the PDF to set up the app locker, and the included files needed in this setup. Let's see what this folder will contain. So I have downloaded this file, and I will put it in a Google Drive link in the description of the video. Okay, so now I am copying the file, and then I will unzip it, and let's see what this folder contains. So first of all, I am putting it in my red alert folder. This is my collection, or this is the folder I have all of my lab files included in it. Okay, so now this is app locker guidance master. If you open this folder, we will find a lot of useful things. First of all, one of these files is this PDF, okay, and there is some accompanied files needed to be installed, and it is included, or it is mentioned in the PDF. So let's open the PDF and begin working with it. Let's see how we can begin securing our network, okay, or our servers and workstations, by controlling what the users or what programs the users can access. So here let's see that this is a PDF from the National Security Agency of the United States, and this is the part of it in cooperation with the Central Security Service of the United States. So these are the two agencies providing this PDF, okay, and this is called application whitelist using AppLocker. So this is how we can control, or will make an whitelist for the applications that the users can use through the using of the AppLocker feature. So let's see how we can do this. And actually this PDF is a little bit not too large or not too small, but it includes a lot of useful information, and actually it is written in a very simple way. So we will try to read it one by one. Okay, I will make this video for using the AppLocker in two parts because it's a little bit long, okay, because it contains a lot of info. Anyway, now we are opening the Power Workstation. I'm increasing the RAM for the Power Workstation so I can have more performance on this machine. And then I will open the primary domain controller, and then I will begin accessing the primary domain controller from my Power Workstation to configure the AppLocker group policy. So let's wait and see how we can do this, and let's read the PDF and see what does it contain. So now we have opened our primary domain controller and our Power Workstation. Then we log in with this username, which is the domain admin account. Red alert, and this user care of this is a domain admin account. And then we begin reading the PDF line by line and try to explain if there is anything not clear. But actually it is written in a very simple language. We can all read and we can all comprehend, or we can all understand it. So let's see. First of all, I am copying the folder that contains the AppLocker PDF installation, or AppLock group policy installation or setup, and the accompanied file, because there is some files listed in the PDF that we need to set up, okay, during the configuration of the AppLocker group policy. Anyway, so I'm copying the folder. This is the AppLocker folder, or AppLocker guidance folder. Okay, we put it on the server, not on my Power Workstation, and then we will begin reading the PDF one by one to see if we can begin the setup of this group policy. Anyway, so we need to make a group policy, or a separate group policy for the AppLocker. You can set it up in the default domain policy, but this will be applied to all of your workstations and servers. This is not a good decision, because this will also apply to the domain controllers. So I prefer to make two separate group policies for the AppLocker, one to be applied to the workstations and one to be applied for the servers. Anyway, so I have a group policy called Windows 10 Hardening. This group policy is applied to all of my Windows 10 workstations. So I will configure the AppLocker group policy from this one. But after a couple of minutes working with the video, I changed my mind and have a separate group policy for applying the AppLocker. Anyway, you can apply it through the Windows 10 Hardening group policy, the one that we have configured earlier. And I prefer to have less group policies. You don't need to have a lot of group policies, because this will take a lot of time for the workstations to process a lot of group policies. Anyway, so how we can configure this AppLocker group policy through the application control services. Anyway, so here this is something like disclaimer. We don't need to read it a lot. It's something related to the United States government. We will begin working with the PDF. Okay, so here this is an introduction, a very good introduction actually. The volume and variety of malware increases on daily basis. Malware developers and antivirus vendors are in an ever-ending arms race. So they're all fighting the malware developers and the antivirus companies. The malware are developing new viruses, okay, that the antiviruses cannot detect, and the antivirus companies are developing new techniques to discover this newly malware invented or developed by the malware authors. Okay, so the malware authors continuously modifying their creations so they are not detected, and antivirus vendors update their programs to detect new malware creation. Okay, defending against these threats by blocking every known malware. So anyway, this is called the blacklist. Okay, so the antiviruses, what they do, they have a blacklist. Okay, a blacklist contains all of the known viruses and they are listed in the antivirus program. So if the antivirus program detect one of these antiviruses in one of these viruses or malwares in the blacklist, it will be blocked. So this depends upon the antivirus vendors discovering the new viruses. What about if a new virus is not listed, or a new virus is not yet detected, or there is no antivirus for it or no anti-malware for it? So it will not be listed in the blacklist. So this is the blacklist technique will not work in this. So here is saying that defending against these threats by blocking every known malware sample, a technique called blacklist. It is a relative technique that does not scale well to the increasing volume and variety of malware. So you can have an antivirus that will not protect you from a new malware created. He can or the antivirus can help you to protect against known viruses and malwares, but it will not help you or not defend you or not protect you against unknown malware. So how we can help ourselves to protect against unknown malware? There is another technique. So let's see what is this technique. It does also not protect against unknown malware. Many attacks use previously known vulnerabilities, also known as zero-day vulnerabilities, that cannot be prevented with blacklist techniques. Anyway, so he's saying here in short that the antivirus can help you to protect your machine against known malware and viruses, but the unknown malware and viruses will not, the antivirus will not help you to protect you against them. Okay, so the app locker technique is another technique that will help you or to protect you against unknown malware and viruses. This will be written here. Government and corporate networks are prime targets for the attackers. This is very clear. They contain valuable property or sensitive information and have a large, diverse known attacks. Okay, as operating systems have become more locked down, so the attacks or the malware, it will not attack the operating system, but it can attack, or most of them, because the systems have become more locked down or more secure, they are attacking programs installed or applications installed on the operating system that doesn't have the same protection. Okay, so he's saying here, as operating systems have become more locked down, attacks have shifted from operating system to application. This change has left each individual user and the application they use as the main attack vectors into the network. So operating systems are protecting themselves and issuing updates to their operating system, but the applications are not on the same line, because some vendors of some applications are working hard to secure their applications, but some are not doing this. So these applications will be opened for attack. So we need to find a protective technique to protect our operating systems and applications. So the application whitelisting, this is a proactive technique where only a limited number of programs are allowed to run, okay, while all other programs are blocked from running by default. Okay, so this can help you in some situations. If, for example, someone have sent an unknown malware in an email link, or if someone have sent an email to your user with an unknown malware, this will be installed through clicking on a link. So the application whitelist will help you. Okay, how is this? Let's see something like this. A user receives an phishing email with a link to a program that looks like a greeting card or a streaming video viewer. That executes a hidden malicious program. This application whitelist will help you to avoid such situations. So for example, if we have a limited amount of programs to run through the app locker, this unknown program is not listed in the application whitelist or in the application list that we have allowed the user to run. So if he even click on the link, the program will not be executed. So this is a very good thing to have. A user views a website that silently exploits a previously known or unpatched vulnerability in the web browser or third browser's add-on, and then downloads a malicious program to further compromise the network and steal data. So also the application whitelist will help us to prevent something like this, because in the application whitelist we are listing, for example, that a browser's add-on is not in the application allowed list. For example, certain browsers, for example, we can block them or block the user from using them. For example, some browsers are not secure, so we can redirect the user to use a certain browser that you are or that we have already fully patched. Okay, so this is also one of the things our application whitelist can help us, especially if including or especially for unknown malware types and antiviruses. Okay, a user opens a document that exploits a vulnerability in the document viewer, and an embedded malicious program is extracted and unknown executed. So here, these are all situations that a user regularly faces. For example, a user opens a document that he doesn't know or sent to him through email, and this document contains a virus. Okay, and the document is opened, for example, by for example the Word, or open with the PDF viewer or something like this. So if we limit the user, or for example if we block the user from using, for example, this is not a good thing to, or this is not a best practice. For example, if we included in the application whitelist that the user could not open Word documents or Excel documents through the Outlook, okay, this is a good thing through the application whitelist. Or we can, for example, in the whitelist, limit or redirect the user to only use Adobe Reader DC to open the PDFs, and this Adobe Reader DC it is fully patched and fully secured. Okay, so we are 100% sure that it will not help in spreading a virus, or it will not open an infected file. Return to my video concerning how to secure Adobe Reader DC. Anyway, so this is one of the things also used through the application whitelist. A user inserted removable media, such as a USB thumb drive, into their computer that automatically execute a malicious program. Okay, all of these situations. Another situation, a user installs a program without notifying the administrator, so the program remains unpatched after a critical vulnerability is publicly closed and then is exploited by malware. So this is one of the things. A user can download a portable program and run it and install it, or he can not download a portable program. He can download an executable file for a program and install it if he has some administrative rights, and this program is not monitored by our IT. It's not patched, it is not secured by installing security patches or security updates. So this is also another issue. We should not let the user install programs that the IT doesn't know anything about it. We should control the applications on the workstation of the user. These applications, we all know, we all have security updates, or we are regularly batching it with security batches. So this is something we need to monitor. Okay, so the application whitelist will help you in these situations to protect you from unknown malware detections or unknown malware infections. Okay, so these are some situations you can or the application whitelist will help you through it. Okay, so for example, if we have the application whitelist, then the user cannot open a program sent to him through email, because we have certain applications to run, and this program is not in the list. The email sent to him through the email, it is not in the application whitelist. And the same, if the user try to open a certain program in his browser and this program is not included in the application whitelist, it will not run. Or this add-on application to the browser, add-on or plugin is not in the application whitelist, it will not run from the beginning on the browser. Okay, a document also, if the document viewer is not included in the application, or is not the document viewer program is not included in the application whitelist, it will not open the document. And for example, also if the removable media is inserted and a certain program or this removable media has a program or a malicious program on it, and this program is not in the application whitelist, this program will not automatically run. So these are all good things to secure your network through the application whitelist. And also you should limit the user to have any rights to install programs. Okay, this is also one thing to help you other than the application whitelist. And also you should have a group policy to block autoplay on removable media or DVDs. Okay, anyway, so this is how the application whitelist can help you to protect yourself against unknown malware detections. Okay, for example, and actually this comes side by side or works side by side with updating your antivirus, and to have a good intrusion detection system on your workstation, and to have a good firewall on your network. This runs side by side. Because the application whitelist only will not help you against malware detection, and the antivirus and hardware or firewall will not help you alone in protection against malware. Both will help you. Okay, so this is a good thing to work with. So this is very simple, written in a very simple way. Okay, since none of the malicious or unauthorized programs in the above scenarios are included in the list of the allowed programs, they would not execute. This is what I'm talking about. So he's saying here, since none of the malicious or unauthorized programs in the current listed situations are not in, so since none of the malicious or unauthorized programs in the above scenarios are included in the list of allowed program, they would not execute if application whitelist was enforced. Application whitelist makes it more difficult for attackers to compromise a network, because they must exploit one of the allowed programs on the victim's computer. So for the hacker or for the malware to infect the machine, he should, or the malware should infect an allowed program on the victim's computer. Okay, so this is one of the things. Okay, so, and this is very difficult anyway. Or circumvent the whitelist mechanism, or to play with the application whitelist, okay, to perform a successful attack. So there is two ways to infect a machine after applying the application whitelist: to infect an allowed program in the application list, or to reconfigure the application whitelist or the application list to include your virus or malware program in the list. Okay, so anyway, even if allowed program is exploded, further malicious activity may still be blocked by the whitelist mechanism. We're saying even if the program or allowed program in the application list is exploded, also the whitelist could protect you. Okay, he's saying here, and he's stressing on, this is not a replacement for traditional security software. So this is not a replacement for your antivirus or your intrusion detection system. This is another method, or it works side by side with the traditional security software. It should be used as one layer in the defense in-depth solution. For application whitelist solution to be effective, so he's saying some recommendations. All executable code must be blocked by default, so only approved programs can run. Okay, so I think this is one thing. Let's continue working with it. So he's saying here another thing. He's saying some recommendation. One of the things also, not to allow users to have, regular user must not have administrative privileges. So you should not upgrade a user to be an administrator. Okay, standard user, or to give a standard user some administrative rights. What are, or an example, to install programs. This is a very dangerous right to give to a user. Okay, users must not be allowed to run programs from directories where they have write access. So for example, if you have given a user the right to not only to run a program, but to change the contents the contents of the folder containing the program. This is a very important. Actually, not changing, I mean changing to have the right access. So you should only give the user the right to run a program, not to change a program. To give him the read permissions, not the write permissions. Anyway, here he will begin discussing the mechanism of the application whitelist, or how the application whitelist works. Okay, there is 3 or 4 methods to work with the whitelist. So here it depends upon location based application whitelist. So here he's saying to you that programs in a certain location on your hard disk, okay, it is allowed to run. So for example, if I say to him that, for example, all programs in C program files folder are secure and allowed programs to run. So any program not installed or not included in the C program files folder will not run. In a formal application whitelist, where large protected locations that contain multiple applications are whitelisted rather than each application individually. So here is saying also that you should include all of your allowed programs in one location or in one folder on your hard disk, on the workstations or on servers. Okay, so we can control it more easily. So for example, some environments, in some environments, the allowed locations are in different folders. So for example, not all programs that are allowed in C program files, some programs are in other locations. So this should also be included in the location or in the allowed location playlist, on the allow application playlist, okay, or our application list. But as a good practice or a best practice, to include all of your applications in one folder, or to be installed in one folder, okay, for the best of performance, security and manageability. NASA, or National Security Information Assurance Director, recommends employing location-based application whitelist. Okay, the location-based rules restrict which executables and libraries are allowed to execute based on where they reside or where they are. Okay, the locations must be protected so that only authorized administrator can install or modify these files. So the C program files, you should be sure that only administrators can install programs in this folder, not regular users. So only authorized administrators can install or modify the files. This is controlled through the ACL, or access control list, not through the application whitelist. The application whitelist controls who can run the program. Okay, so this prevents standard users and malicious activity from circumventing the application whitelist policy. So for example, if you have, for example, or you have given standard users the right on C program files to write, for example, on this folder, then the application whitelist will not be that effective, because you give him the right to write to the C program files. Anyway, these location-based rules have minimal impact on system performance and allow most programs updates and patches to be applied without requiring any rule changes. So also, if there is any update for any programs installed, for example, in folder C program files, they'll be installed normally without any intervene. Okay, so he's saying this is a good way to protect your application, okay, while preventing the execution of new unauthorized programs and most current malware. So this is the first method. You tell the application or the app locker to only run programs in a certain location or a certain folder on your local hard disk. So this is one of the things to how to secure your applications. Recent Microsoft operating system include a feature called App Locker as an application whitelist implementation, so the administrators can control which files can run. These files should include executable files, scripts, Windows installer files, and dynamic libraries. Dynamic library, link library is something like executable files, but not that much, okay, but it is something that can infect your machine, or viruses can infect your machine through DLLs. Okay, so this is a very short introduction about this guide. Okay, this guide describes Microsoft App Locker setting recommended by NASA, okay, for developing location-based application whitelist on your network. Alternative application whitelist implementations that may support your organization needs are commercially available. So there is a lot of ways to secure your applications. One of them is the app locker by deploying location-based application whitelist. This guide provides administrators with a walkthrough on how to use app locker and implement this setting. Using app locker application whitelist enforcers will not stop all malicious software. It provides an additional layer. So even though it's a good mechanism to protect you against unknown malware, but it will not protect you completely. It is an additional layer in defense in-depth strategy. The intent of this guide is to prevent users from unknowingly or accidentally executing malicious codes or unauthorized software. Okay, this guide comes with pre-built rules and scripts. So there is some files. These are rules that you can import them in the app locker, or scripts you can use them in the app locker. These are included in the app locker folder, the one that I have showed you all, the zipped file that I have unzipped from a couple of minutes. Okay, so we will use them in this lab. Okay, and it is in a Google Drive link in the description of the video. Anyway, so this is very easy to use, very simple to implement. Okay, so we'll see how we can begin working with installing or working with the configuring of the app locker. Anyway, we have 36 minutes. I think we have about 20 minutes. Okay, so let's continue, or let's see how we can use this guide to configure the app locker. Here is another thing. Here it's saying that it is highly recommended to use audit only mode. So when you configure the app locker, there is two modes: to enforce the app locker policy or to audit the app locker policy. Enforce means that you will begin working with the app locker group policy. Audit means that it will not be implemented, but it will be monitored. So for example, if in the app locker group policy you have blocked, for example, the user from opening the browser of Edge, for example, and the app locker policy, group policy, it is in the audit mode. When the user tries to open the Edge browser, it will open. Okay, it will not be blocked. But in the event or the Windows event log, their log will be created saying that the app locker policy monitored this program and it should be blocked, but it will not be blocked because the app locker policy or group policy, it is in the audit mode. So this is a good thing. You should first, before putting your app locker group policy in the enforce mode, you should first put it in the audit mode and collect or let your users use their machines, and then collect the Windows event logs and see if there is any problems concerning the app locker policy. Okay, for example, maybe some programs are blocked and they should not be blocked, so you can modify the app locker rules. Anyway, so he's saying here that you should use it in audit mode to deploy the app locker and understand its impact prior to rule enforcement. Okay, also it's recommended that any configuration change and implementation of app locker should be tested. So he's giving you two recommendations. First of all, to put the app locker policy in the audit mode to test it, and to test these app locker policies in a test environment. So what we need to do, we need to prepare a lab and put our app locker policy in it. Okay, and first audit it for a certain amount of time and then enforce it. Okay, so we can enforce it in a test lab, even if our enforcement have some errors or something, it will not affect the production environment. It's in a testing lab. Or you can, in your production environment, take 2 or 3 machines as the test subjects to your app locker policy. You can audit them first, then enforce your app locker policies on these test machines in your production environment. And we will see that we should use the second solution. We will not prefer a test environment, but we will use our app locker policy on subjects in our production environment, but small PCs or small number of PCs, just not to infect or not to largely deploy it on our network, or not to have a huge effect, because we are only implemented on a limit amount of machines. Anyway, so This is also again another recommendation. So we see here that the PDF is very simple and it's taking you step by step and giving you a lot of recommendations, a lot of useful things we can work with. He's saying validate in a test lab environment prior to operational or production use to ensure these settings are correct and the system is stable. He's saying here that this document is for Windows 7 and Windows Server. Actually, it works on Windows 10. Okay, so don't worry, it works on Windows 10 and Windows Server earlier or prior, for example, prior operating system. For example, it can work on Windows Server 2012, 2016, 2022. Anyway, it will work on all of these. So AppLocker is designed to enhance security and not replace the traditional security software. So he is restricting on this, such as antivirus and firewalls. AppLocker is available in certain editions. He's saying it's not available in Windows Server 2003. It's already expired, and XP it's already expired. Okay, so AppLocker enhances the functionality of something called software restriction policies. So before the AppLocker, there was something called software restriction policy. It was used on Windows Server 2003 and XP, and actually it's still there in Windows 7 and Windows 10 and Windows Server 2012 and more in 2016 and the other versions. But he's saying that AppLocker is more good in protection. AppLocker differs from SRP or software restriction policy because it utilizes Windows kernel to enforce the policy. Okay, improving the certificate rules, creating audit. Just a moment, guys, just a moment. So let's continue, guys. We here the PDF says that before AppLocker was introduced, there was something called software restriction policies. Okay, it was used in older versions. It was designed for Windows XP and Windows Server 2003, and both are expired. That doesn't mean that it is not available. It's still available in Windows Server 2012, for example, and Windows 10. But here he you can use both of them, or you can use the AppLocker, and Microsoft recommends, or I see that you can use the AppLocker. It is enough. Okay, and actually the PDF only says, or it talks about implementing AppLocker. If the software restriction policies are that important, the PDF should include them, or the installation of them. Anyway, let's see a little bit of a description about what is the AppLocker limitations. Okay, so the AppLocker limitations is saying that it have improvements or over the software restriction policies. Okay, this is the older version, or this is the technique introduced before the AppLocker to control the user on working on software. He is saying that these are limitations. Some limitations are indicated below. As seen during some explosion, application whitelist does not provide protection when injecting controlled files directly into the memory, since the files are opened for a non-executable data access but then used for execution instead. Anyway, a kind of malware explosion method through injecting files into the memory. Okay, so he's saying that it will not protect you against this kind of infection. According to Microsoft, application is not suited for business groups or organizations that have to install application on a daily basis, on case by case, without an approval from the information technology department. So for example, if your business model needs to, for example, if you are in a developer, for example, if you are a developer company and the developers should install a lot of programs daily, so this method will not help you, because the developers should install a lot of programs to help them develop programs or to develop something. So this will not help you. He's saying that, however, this process inherently contradicts all forms of centralized software control and is not recommended. So this is something also Microsoft should not recommend. So guys, he's saying that this model it does not recommend. So this is one limitation for you, or for AppLocker limitation. Okay, why we use AppLocker? This is something we need to concentrate on. Okay, in today's society, okay, most successful malware exploits involve Trojan horses where the user installed the program under false pretense. Application whitelist implementation such as AppLocker can help mitigate these types of attacks. Okay, so the malware is infection method through making the user install programs under false pretense. For example, he's saying, for example, to protect your machine, install this antivirus. This is a false pretense. Actually, this antivirus, it's not an antivirus, it's the malware itself. I have seen this kind of ads or advertisements. Okay, can help you with these types by restricting the files that the users or groups are allowed to run. AppLocker allows IT administrator to create rules to allow or deny program based. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Based on, I think, the location. Anyway, upon trusted users. So here he is saying the methods that the AppLocker work with. It is based upon trusted users or trusted passes or trusted file hashes or trusted publishers. So it depends upon, or it controls, or it lets you run programs based on certain trusted users, or certain trusted users are allowed to run certain programs, or trusted passes or trusted locations, or trusted file hashes. A hash, it is a way to know if the file is tampered with or not. So based on a certain hash, or for example, if a hacker try to send you a file or try to modify a file hash will help you to identify that the file is tampered with. Anyway, or trusted publisher. For example, you can tell the AppLocker only to install programs from known publishers like Microsoft or Apple or so and so. Okay, so access control techniques like access control list help control the user's access to files and other system resources. However, when a user runs a process, the process uses the same level of access to data as the user. Therefore, files can be easily modified, deleted, transmitted due to a user knowingly or unknowingly running malicious software. AppLocker assists in mitigating these types of attacks by restricting the files that users and group can execute. So, in very simple or short terms, AppLocker uses trusted applications to let you run a certain programs, or trusted publishers. So you can tell him to only run programs from Microsoft and not through a trusted pass. So for example, there is a lot of programs of Microsoft in multiple passes, so it will all run because it is based upon the publisher or the developer of the program or the company created the program, called trusted publishers or trusted file hash or trusted passes or trusted users. So here is one thing. Some software publishers create portable applications. This is the one I'm talking about. Portable applications standard users can run without installation. This type of software can violate an organization written security policy. Okay, so by using the AppLocker, this kind of programs will not run. AppLocker helps administrators prevent per-user applications from running by allowing administrators to create rules that deny such files from executing. So this will help you to protect yourself against portable applications. Okay, even the portable applications run without the privilege of administrator. Okay, but it will not run. Okay, so use the list below to determine if organization is suitable to use AppLocker. Let's see here a list. He's saying use the list below to determine if your organization is suitable for use AppLocker as a part of your organization. This is the requirement to run AppLocker. Okay, so it says that it should be on Windows Server 2012, 2008, Windows 8. This is old. You can use it on Windows Server 2012, and after Windows Server 2012 you can use it on Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 8. So this is also one thing. So let's continue here. So it's saying here, let's continue working here. So it can work with Windows 2012 and more, and Windows 10 or more, Windows 7. A policy stating that only authorized applications may run. So this is what you need to have a policy to run only authorized application. You need to improve control over your. So here is saying why you, or what is the need for the app locker. The app locker, if you need to have authorized application to run, so you need the app locker. If you need to improve or to have control over your organization applications to enforce your authorized application policy, so you need to control, in short, control the use of programs in your applications. And you need to make a baseline, okay, for the authorized and allowed applications in your network. Okay, so this is in short. Okay, in short, all of this is not important. We need to know that we need the app locker to have a standard for our allowed applications in our network, okay, and to control the applications in our network, only to allow fully patched softwares and programs to run, okay, and to know if we have or to configure our WSOS to apply this software with the patches needed. Maybe the WSOS will not do this, but you can use third-party software to integrate it with WSOS to patch non-Microsoft applications. Here is saying some advantages and other things. He's saying that it is included. This is some advantages of app locker. It's no additional cost. It is included in no additional cost in Windows Server 2012, Windows 7, but Ultimate and Enterprise, this also is included, or it is applied to Windows 10 and Windows 8. Manageable through group policy, so it will be applied through group policy. Easily importable and exportable policy, so the group policy can be imported and exported. Prevent use of unauthorized application, this is very clear. Does not require daily definition updates, so it doesn't need any updates. You only update it when your list of applications or allowed application is changed. May reduce administrative overhead, just wait for a moment. May reduce administrative overhead by reducing the number of conflicting or misconfigured, let's go further here, or misconfigured applications. So it's a very easy way to control your environment. Some disadvantages: reporting is limited to local event logs. Okay, so the event log is limited somehow, or the information included in the event log is limited, and he's saying that it is the reporting is only done to the local event log on the machine on the server. It will not be included, for example, on the event log in the domain controller. So every the logs will be included locally, not on the domain controller. Okay, but you can use Windows event forwarding to forward all of these local event logs to a server. Okay, this can be done. Requires some performance overhead to enforce the whitelist. Varies upon rule type. So this can have some effect on your performance on the machine. Depend upon the whitelist itself. Only available for certain Windows versions and editions. Okay, so this is very, very clear. So here I think we will stop at this this minute, because at the upcoming video we will begin working on how we can use the app locker. So there is a lot of app locker rules. So the rule can, as I said before, allow programs to run based on the path, based on the file hash, based on the publisher, based on the pack rules. We will discuss this in the upcoming video. Hope this video is informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Until the upcoming video, thank you so much. This is minute number 1422.